Hey everyone, welcome to Courtside Conversations. My name's Emile, founder and owner of Little Boomers Basketball, and it's a pleasure to be your host today. Wherever you're watching today's episode, I hope you're having a booming day, and yes, the pun is intended. My journey to entrepreneurship started on May 1st, 2018 when I launched my first basketball program with 9 kids enrolled. Today, thousands of kids across Australia are thriving in our programs, all thanks to the commitment and passion of our incredible franchisees. This podcast is here to give you real, straightforward, no BS insights into business, entrepreneurship, and what it's like to own a franchise. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Franchising versus starting from scratch. Which path is right for you? Wow, what an important question that we're going to cover in today's episode. The other day, I was speaking to a gentleman who was interested in franchising from Victoria, and he currently works at a sports centre, and he was telling me, Emile, I'm very interested in owning a Little Boomers franchise, but I'm a little bit on the fence. Should I franchise with you guys and do it your way, or should I start my own academy? Because he had a bit of experience. And this is a really important question that you should be asking yourself. Well, we're going to dive into it in today's episode in Courtside Conversations. Now, I started my business in 2018. I didn't franchise. I wanted to do it my way. And we're going to talk about what are the pros and cons for each one so you can determine what's right for you. Now, the answer is it depends on what your goals are. There's a couple of questions that you need to ask yourself that's going to help answer this question. But before I give you those questions, I want to talk some stats for a little bit. Now, in 2024 in Australia, franchising contributed 174 billion, that's a B, billion, to the economy with over 1,200 franchise networks. That's a lot of money being pumped out to the economy from franchising. Now, here's the other statistic. This one's a little bit more scary, so, get ready for it. In 2024, more than 15% of Australian businesses failed the past year. Hold on. Making it the highest failure rate since the global financial crisis in 2008. Just process that for a second. More businesses last year are failing than the GFC in 2008. That is alarming. Why that is, speculations out there. Is it marketing, poor product, not knowing what they're doing, sales, who knows? But the fact that more businesses are failing back in the GFC, more than the GFC, that's quite alarming. So let's talk about what questions you need to ask yourself to determine if you should franchise or start your own business from scratch. The first one is your vision to build your company your way? I'm going to say that again. Is your vision to build your company your way? The key word at the end is your way. And I'll give you an example. When I started in May 1st, 2018, I wanted to build my business my way. I didn't want to follow a franchise that had an established way of doing it. I wanted to do it my way. That was my vision. So that's the first question you've got to ask yourself. Second question, again, get ready to swallow this pill. Are you prepared, if you start your own business that is, are you prepared to make no profit for the first 3 years? Yes, you heard that right. Are you prepared to make no profit for the first 3 years? Oh, Emile, what are you talking about? If I start my business, what do you mean no profit? Guys, starting your own business nowadays is freaking hard, all right? Don't be fooled by social media with all these get-quick-rich schemes. When you are starting your own business, you have no brand, no social media, no proven or tested product, no systems, no marketing, no website. There's nothing. You need to build all of that from scratch, and that takes a ton of time and money. So are you prepared to reinvest any profit you make in the first 3 years in building those systems? And guys, a brand isn't built overnight. That takes years and years of positive customer experiences. You don't just build a brand overnight. Nike wasn't built overnight. Adidas wasn't built overnight. So are you prepared to make no profit for the first 3 years if you start your own business? Now, I'll give you an example. When somebody wants to franchise with Little Boomers Basketball, you can either franchise with us or start on your own. If you start on your own, you got to build all your programs, right? For all the different age groups. You need to build your brand. You got to build social media. You have to hire a marketing team. You don't even know if parents are going to like your programs. You've got no systems. How do you respond to leads? How do you get customers to come into your classes? How are you going to do marketing? There's no website. When people join us, when people franchise with us as a franchisee, we've got a way of doing all those stuff. We've got a team that posts social media. We've got a proven tested product. We've got marketing covered. All of that has already been done. Now, next question you need to ask yourself. If you are going to franchise, are you prepared to pay an upfront fee to gain access to an established way of doing things? With any franchise, there is always an upfront fee, called a franchise investment or a franchise fee. That is a one-time fee that you need to pay to get access to all the systems and the way of doing things. They also call this a turnkey operation. So are you prepared to pay an upfront fee? How much that fee is? It varies from industry to industry. Some franchise fees are 50K, 100K, some are as high as 600K. So are you prepared to pay an upfront fee to get access to an established way of doing things? Now, hey, just quickly, if you're enjoying today's episode, it will mean the world to me if you can leave a positive review or share it with a friend that may benefit from this. I've also put some bonus resources in the description, including a real franchise case study that you can download under our Franchise Success Blueprint. Hope you find it useful. Enjoy the rest of the episode and rock on. Adios. If you're going to franchise, you also need to ask yourself, are you prepared to follow a system and procedure that has already been created? Guys, when you come into a franchise, it's not about reinventing the wheel, right? There's a way of doing things, and franchisees need to follow the system and procedures of doing things. Now, yes, they can offer recommendations to the franchisor for how to improve things, but that's up to the discretion of the franchisor. If you're coming into a franchise, you need to understand you are coming into something that is already established and has a way of doing things. So if you're very creative and you want to try this and try that, maybe a franchise isn't for you. Maybe you should start something on your own. I'll give you an example. In our business, Little Boomers Basketball, we specialize in primary school kid programs. So we've got programs for 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 6 to 8, 9 to 12. And we've got set curriculum outcomes for each program. Now, if somebody comes into our franchise and says, you know what, I want to do high school kids, I'm going to run a program for high school kids, that wouldn't follow our guidelines because we don't specialize in high school programs. We only focus on primary school kids. So that's something for you to keep in mind as well. And finally, team, the last question you need to ask yourself if you're going to franchise, are you willing to follow the advice, rules, and guidelines set by the franchisor? And the second part to that question, are you okay not liking the decisions always? If you're going to jump in as a franchisee, yes, you are your own boss, but the rules and the regulations are set by the franchisor, which is head office. Now, good franchisors do take into consideration franchisees and what they want. However, you need to understand when a decision is made and you've got 50 or 100 franchisees in a network, not everybody is going to be okay with the decision, and that's perfectly normal. If you're going to join into a franchise, you need to understand that not every decision is going to go your way because there's 50 franchisees in a network. We're not going to be able to cater for everyone. So are you okay following these guidelines, and are you okay not liking the decision always? I'll give you a classic example that happens in our network. We're constantly reevaluating the prices of our program, as every business should. It's important that you're increasing your prices and offering more value to your customers. When we increase our prices across all of our programs, some franchisees might be hesitant or concerned, thinking, maybe I'm going to lose customers, parents aren't going to want to pay this price. We always get that hesitance and apprehension, and they might not fully be okay with that, right? But that's an example of some of the decisions that you might not always be in full agreement with. So that's another question that you need to ask yourself. So what's the verdict, Emile? Emile, you're rambling on, you're talking so much, What's the verdict? Here's my verdict, or my 2 cents for what it's worth. If you're looking for a business that has established systems, a proven product, and a strong brand, that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, you can just follow the playbook, look into a franchise. However, if you're willing to sacrifice a profit for 3 years, make plenty of mistakes, be patient with time, and use a ton of resources in the form of time and money, then build your own brand, build your own company, and start on your own, in which I salute you and wish you the best, because I know it's a hell of a journey. Guys, with that being said, that concludes our episode, franchising versus starting from scratch. Now, I want you to stay tuned to the next episode, which will talk about one of the most controversial topics in franchising. Here it is. Are you guaranteed success as a franchise owner? See you in the next episode.